Okay, ladies, gentlemen, whoever's left, who hasn't left for lunch, I'm here between you and lunch, so let's get this done. Where are we? Approval of the minutes. Can I have a motion and a second? Anybody opposed? All those in favor? Done. Next.
No changes to the committee work plan, Mr. Chairman.
Okay. Jerry Gold, you got to come up here. Can everybody hear me if I stand up? This is Jerry's last swan song, and we wanted to recognize his years of really good service to the MTA. We have a little proclamation for you, and we're going to reproduce it so everybody on your team has it.
Thank you.
And then we have, fortunately, a piece of pink granite that matches your shirt almost. I don't know how we arranged that, but we did really good. That has our symbol on it.
Comes from the floor of Grand Central.
Oh, thank you.
Rehab, and you're only getting that. Nobody else gets that.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Your turn to say something. So go ahead. You wanted to say something, so you know.
I did, and I want to thank you very much. It's very greatly appreciated. Mr. Chairman, today is our last CPOC presentation, and I would like to take this opportunity to thank their board for the support for the past 7 years. Specifically, I would like to thank the committee chairs, Al Werner, Barry Feinstein, and yourself for your efforts that enabled us to get access to the operating agencies and provide you with the quality information you require to make informed decisions. Additionally, I'd like to express my appreciation to both Ron Saporita and Linda Kleinbaum who facilitated our day-to-day involvements and helped break new ground for the way CPOC operates. The independent engineers' participation in the Blue Ribbon Panel on Construction Excellence and risk assessments for the mega projects and high technology projects are just two examples of this new approach, which has made the IEC engagement so rewarding. However, at the end of the day, the IEC is not one person or an organization. It's about the team. The IEC, OCO, and even the operating agencies out there. To the operating agencies, and I see you way in the back, I'd like to say to you that cooperation is a necessity for the IEC to provide value. But in the end, we, the current IEC, believe that the entire process involves around teamwork, and we should all realize that team is an acronym for Together Everyone Achieves More. And that achievement is building the MTA projects on time and on schedule. So that said, with my IEC team out there in the audience, please stand up and take a rightful bow of applause.
Thank you.
Thank you for the opportunity.
Mr. Chairman, could I just say something in thanks to Jerry and his team? Your doggedness, your experience, and your concern about this agency have saved this agency and the riders many millions of dollars, and we're all very, very grateful for everything that you've done over the past 7 years. And we wish you Godspeed in the next chapter of your very exciting life. Thank you.
Thank you, Doreen.
Okay. MTA committed $641 million through February. This is 50% of the plan commitments. New York City Transit committed $490 million, or 71% of its plan commitment. It's mostly due to delay in FTA funding for the 2009 track and switch program. Long Island Railroad committed $33 million, or 35% of its capital program. Again, this is mostly due to delay in the FTA funding of the 2009 track program. Metro North committed $13 million, or 81% of its plan. It's mostly due to a delay in award of repairs of the Mudina Viaduct until March. Capital Construction committed $101 million, or 21% of its plan. This is mostly due to delay in awarding Second Avenue Subway's 96th Street Station Civil Works for $329 million until March. Bridges and Tunnels committed $3.8 million, or 46% of its plan. This is due to delay in award of the CM contract for the rehab of Building 104 for $4.4 million in March. Completions, MTA completed $259 million through February. This is 101% of the planned completions. New York City Transit completed $237 million, or 103% of its plan. Long Island Railroad committed $19 million, or 100% of its plan. And Metro North completed $2.3 million, or 53% of its plan, of $4.4 million. This is mostly due to delayed acceptance of rolling stock for $2.1 million until March. No other agencies had planned completions in February.
Thank you. Now we're going to do Long Island Railroad.
Yes.
Long Island Railroad. You're ready. Good morning, good afternoon, whatever it is.
Good afternoon, Chairman.
Welcome.
Good afternoon, Board. My name is Kevin Tomlinson, and I am the Chief Program Officer at the Long Island Railroad. Today, I will highlight Long Island Railroad's planned commitments and completions for major projects in 2009 based upon the asset categories listed on this slide. Our capital program projects typically an average about 65% of our work is performed by our own force account labor. Listed here are the commitments and completions in the stations and parking category. Our first commitment is the February 09 award of a contract for the reconstruction of the parking lot in Ronkonkoma, which is one of Long Island Railroad's busiest terminals. This photo shows the present condition, including the inadequate drainage and lack of defined parking spots. The project includes fencing, landscaping, and new lighting to enhance our security. We anticipate to gain a few spots when the parking lot is completed. The Long Island Railroad also plans to commit $2.5 million for the replacement of 2 elevators at Great Neck Station, which too is one of our busier stations. This photo shows the eastbound platform with one of the elevators that will be replaced. The contract will include limitations on the period the elevators will be out of service to mitigate negative customer impacts. With regard to our 2009 completions, we are scheduled to achieve beneficial use of Broadway Station on the Port Washington branch this May. This project includes the demolition and replacement of the original eastbound and westbound concrete platforms west of the station building and in the plaza areas seen in the upper 2 photos, as well as the new passenger shelters, railings, lightings, and communications. Improvements to the site also include a refurbished underpass, ADA ramps seen in the lower left, retaining walls, sidewalks, new stairs, vegetation, and fencing. The picture on the lower right shows the new staircase, which includes the art for transit within the design. Another station under construction is our Valley Stream Station project. The main elements of this project, which is scheduled for completion in June of 2009, includes a new station building, complete with a ticket office, waiting room, and public restrooms. Platform improvements include the rehabilitation of the existing platform waiting room, depicted in the upper left, and site improvements shown on the lower right. The next project scheduled for completion this year is the Seaford Station, which includes replacement of the existing 12-car Center Island platform, platform canopies, the platform level waiting room, stairways, and the installation of a new elevator and escalator. In these photos, you can see the east end of the station platform and the waiting room, which were completed and returned back to service January 31st of 2009. Beneficial use of the west end of the platform is scheduled for July of this year. The last station and parking project scheduled for completion in 2009 is Phase 2 of the Atlantic Terminal reconstruction, which includes the new street-level entry pavilion, complete with ticket office, customer waiting area, and public restrooms. The project also includes granite tile floor throughout the terminal and platforms, plus limestone walls in the pavilion and a new facility for both police and employees. This photo shows the pavilion receiving the final exterior finishes of stone and glass. This is an artist's rendering of what the final terminal will look like. It is scheduled for opening in the third quarter of 2009. With regard to our line structure category, Long Island Railroad's focus has been on putting our existing bridges, viaducts, and retaining walls into a state of good repair. The first 2009 commitment is the rehabilitation of over 5,500 linear feet of retaining walls and select bridge abutments on the Port Washington branch. Work includes concrete repairs, waterproofing, and the installation of soil anchors. This project is scheduled for completion in the fourth quarter of 2011. The second major project under our commitment plan for the structure category is the replacement of both Powell Creek and Hog Island bridges, which are located on the Long Beach branch and transverse waterways. These bridges are over 80 years old and have timber supports as main structural elements. The scope of the work includes complete replacement of the bridge piles, using both a combination of steel and concrete structural elements. Our last project commitment in this category is the rehabilitation of the Woodhaven and Queens Boulevard bridges. These bridges were built between 1910 and 1926 and are located on our Main Line and Port Washington branches just east of Woodside Station, where they are utilized by almost all of our daily daily train service into and out of Manhattan. The scope of this work includes abutment, steel repairs, and waterproofing. For our commitments under communication and signal, I will discuss 3 projects. Our first 2009 commitment is the reconfiguration and modernization study of Jamaica interlocking. This study will assess the best way to reconfigure the existing 100-year-old Jamaica interlocking, which has over 150 switches, to enhance the track alignment and to increase our throughput. The study will also review extending the existing platforms to 12-car length and the addition of a 6th platform for a dedicated Brooklyn shuttle. The Jamaica reconfiguration is one of our most critical projects because increased train capacity is a necessity to support our East Side Access Service Plan, as well as the railroad's plan to modernize Jamaica. Another planned commitment is Phase 2 of the fit-out of the Jamaica Central Control Complex, which is a critical part of Long Island Railroad's plan to build a centralized train control system to improve our dispatching capabilities and repair crew responses. This photo shows the area on the 6th floor JCC building where offices for both the operational staff and the future power director's office will be fitted out. The 2009 completions is the cutover of the modernization of the signal system at Valley Interlocking, which is scheduled for the 4th quarter of 2009. This project will replace the existing Vital relay-based system with microprocessor technology, eliminate the air compressor plants that supply horsepower to move the track switches, and replace the outdated supervisory systems that control signals on 4 adjacent branches. The top photo illustrates the existing relay-based signal system with the 1933 Model 14 switch control board at Valley Tower, while the photo on the bottom shows the new microprocessor-based system. This improvement will remove the need to have someone manually move the levers on the Model 14 machine, or as they say, throw the iron, and now just a simple input into a keyboard is all that is required. Under the shops and yards category, we have 1 commitment and 2 completions scheduled for 2009. The first commitment in this category is the reconfiguration and upgrade of our shops at Hillside Maintenance Facility to improve the Long Island Railroad's ability to implement life cycle maintenance for our fleet. The Hillside facility, which is coming up on 20 years of age, is the Long Island Railroad's main electric fleet maintenance facility. With regard to 2009 completions, Long Island Railroad recently achieved beneficial use of Phase 2 of Long Island City Yard. This phase included the replacement of 6 existing tracks with 5 new yard tracks, as well as construction of a new 2-car passenger platform and 2 new car cleaning service platforms. Work also included remediation of contaminated soil, fueling facilities, paved roadways and walkways, lighting, and duct banks for future diesel, wayside, and third rail power. In these photos, you can see the new tracks with concrete ties, and in the background of the new car cleaning platforms to the left of the engines. The last 2009 major completion is the Richmond Hill Yard Improvement Project. This yard is where Long Island Railroad's diesel fleet is maintained and serviced, and thus is critical to our operations. The project will include the construction of new diesel fueling facilities in Richmond Hill, 2 new service and inspection pits, an engine wash area, and a sanding facility for our diesel locomotives. Beneficial use is expected before the end of this month. Any questions?
Great work. Thank you very much.
Mr. Chairman, if I might, just two
go.
comments. Not that I haven't heard it before, but I've heard it before. But first of all, the committee should know that the Ronkonkoma Railroad Station is a joint effort of the railroad and the town of Brookhaven. The railroad is going to build it but the town is going to maintain the parking lot afterwards, so we will not have any of the pictures like that as we have now. And we want to thank the town of Brookhaven. They already do it on one of the lots. The railroad is already built, and now they're going to do it on a second lot. So from a joint municipal partnership, that was a very, very important aspect, since Ronkonkoma is one of our largest stations. The only thing I would ask, either next month or shortly, a number of months ago, I think it was last year, this board approved short-term improvement study and improvements for the third track area, the main line development corridor. That project is an essential component of the railroad's expansion process, and I'd like to get some idea of where we are on that aspect of it.
We can do that for you.
That would be very helpful. I think the committee would like to know, because the railroad's expansion is dependent upon something happening in the main line corridor, and that's why either we do it long-term or short-term. We just have to do something.
You got it. We can do it either in April
Thank
or
you.
May, whenever we can get it together, but you definitely will get it. We will not forget you. Anything else for Kevin? Thank you, sir. All right, next round. One more report. We've got the bridge and tunnels. Tom and your folks. You're all that stands between us and lunch. I understand how important your report is. Sorry, but we need to laugh a little bit.
Okay, well, why don't we pass out your handsets, and we'll start, because I think no one's.
Technology is
In a
not what
move
it's
to
said to be. Go ahead, Tom.
Okay, well, my name's Tom Bach, and I'm the chief engineer with Bridges and Tunnels, and today I'll review our 2009 capital commitment and completion plans, and also two projects that we're going to be starting this year. I'd also like to review one major completion that we will have, and that's our deck replacement job on Randall's Island. And lastly, I'd like to update you on some positive progress relative to some issues that we've had to close out our Bronx Whitestone redecking project. Generally, our 2005 to 2009 capital program is in very good shape. We committed and closed out record levels of work in 2008, and presently we've completed or committed nearly 90% of our 5-year capital program. Only two significant projects remain to be committed this year. One has already been bid, and award is expected in the second quarter. The remaining project was bid in 2008. The bidder was declared non-responsive and will rebid the job later in the year. So barring surprises, we're confident we'll achieve 100% of our 5-year goal before the year is out. Shown here is our major commitments planned for, on your handout on the second page. Shown here is our major commitments planned for 2009. The largest of these planned commitments is TB59, the rehab of Building 104. We'll also award a project called QM01, the rehab of the service and facility engineering building at the QMT. I'll briefly review these projects in a few minutes. On our next page, can we catch up, Tim? Okay, that's our commitments. And next we'll look at completions. We had no completions planned for the first quarter of this year, but we are on track to complete more than $490 million of project work in 2009. And this total will be the authority's record level of completions. Recall I said I'd talk about two major awards for 2009. Before talking about the first of these projects, TB59, the rehab of Building 104, I'd like to take a minute and explain the vital role this project plays in the R.F. Kennedy Bridge master plan. The aerial photo shows the layout of the RFK Bridge. The facility actually consists of 3 crossings: the Bronx Kills Crossing, the Harlem River Lift Span, and of course the Queens Suspension Span. These 3 bridges are linked by a viaduct, and all traffic is guided to its destination by a collection of ramps and an interchange, which is referred to as the junction structure. The aerial photo shows the location of the upcoming toll plaza expansion and redecking projects that we're planning over our next 2 capital programs. And as you can see, the current work location of Bridge and Tunnels and PD employees conflict with the planned plaza projects. We have hundreds of personnel and shops and warehouses located directly underneath these plazas. Under Project TB59, Building 104 would be rehabilitated and reconfigured to relocate approximately 200 B&T employees and approximately 110 police department employees. When the PD is successfully relocated into Building 104, we can commence site work on a new combined shops, warehouse, and service building located adjacent to the plaza. This work will commence in the latter part of the 2010-14 program, and when occupied, and when all occupied space below the plaza is vacant, only then can the plaza reconstruction continue. As shown here, Building 104 will provide space for approximately 308 employees located below and adjacent to the toll plaza area.
What's going to happen to Building 104 after everybody moves to the new building that's adjacent to the plaza?
We will need two buildings, Commissioner. Building 104 is going to essentially give us space for New York City Police, for our security people, our engineering people, and some training staff. The new building adjacent to the plaza is a service building where our bridge and tunnel offices need to be relocated so they can collect their tolls and do their daily operations in immediate proximity to the plazas. Okay, we've seen an architectural rendering here of Building 104. Building 104 is an existing one-story brick and glass building built in the 70s and used by the Office of Mental Health as a recreation center until about the 1990s. It's been abandoned since, which accounts for its poor condition. We're going to refurbish and reconfigure the building and add a second floor over a small portion of the building. And here you can see the scope of work plan for Building 104. As I mentioned, we'll also award a contract for the rehab of the service building at the Queens Midtown Tunnel. Our existing facilities at the QMT are shown here. We will expand the existing service building. This new annex would house both the facility engineering staff and major elements of our operations and maintenance management crews. Building exterior will be rehabilitated, focusing on building envelope, water tightness, garage ventilation needs, and the relocation of the standby generator to the roof of the new annex. Here you can see two renderings of the service building and the annex. This is a relatively cost-effective means of providing us with new space. We took bids for this job in 2008. Low bid exceeded the budget by about 10%. The low bidder unfortunately made an error in his calculations, and we're going to rebid later in the year. We said we complete a record level of projects in 2009. This includes the completion of the largest project by dollar value that the authority has ever undertaken, and that's the redecking of the Wards Island, Randall's Island Viaduct of the RFK facility, which we call Project TB64B. This project is scheduled to reach substantial completion this summer. The project has three main components. The widening and redecking of the Randall's Island Viaduct is shown here in orange. The colors sometimes aren't good with these. The new ramp to Wards Island is shown in white, and the widening and redecking of the Queens to Manhattan ramp is indicated in blue. Here we can see the historical traffic lane configuration on the viaduct prior to the start of this project, 4 lanes to the Bronx and 4 lanes to Queens. The graphic at the bottom shows the ultimate configuration of the job, 5 lanes to the Bronx and 5 lanes to Queens. There were considerable advantages to this 10-lane configuration. We saved an estimated 9 months of construction time, which improved traffic flow, and we also minimized traffic accidents during construction, which is, of course, a major consideration of ours. This series of diagrams takes us sequentially through the construction stages and illustrates the different lane configurations that were used as we replaced and widened the deck. As I said, as a preliminary stage of construction, we were able to widen the viaduct from 8 to 10 lanes. This permitted us to maintain 8-lane traffic capacity on the original viaduct while attacking construction in two-lane bites. Here we see the historical traffic lane configuration of the viaduct 4 and 4. The effect was to reduce the number of construction stages by nearly half, shorten the duration of the deck work, and keep our customers moving with relatively little pain. Here we see a new pedestrian ramp that was opened in 2006. This ramp will deposit pedestrians directly and quickly into the park below our viaduct. This new ramp replaced thousands of feet of existing viaduct-level pedestrian walkways. There were cost, schedule, and security advantages to B&T with this plan, but the main beneficiaries are our park-bound pedestrians who can now enter the park without first needlessly traversing miles of elevated viaduct walkway before accessing the island. TB64B also included the construction of a new vehicular ramp to the island, which is shown here in white. The new ramp eliminates the current substandard geometry of the Bronx to Randall's Island exit. The geometry of the former exit forced Randall's Island-bound traffic to cross 7 lanes of the Manhattan Plaza to reach the island. Elimination of this traffic crossover will improve safety and operations, and this improvement will become even more valuable when the Randall's Island Park is fully developed and park-bound traffic increases. This ramp will also open up this summer. And here we see a picture of the ramp being ready for its decking, and the abutment has been completed in this shot. These two pictures on the left show the completed ramp, and the two photos on the right show the bottom of the ramp where it touches down on Ward's Island, which is very close to our new Building 104, which will help our daily commute. As part of this project, we also widened the Queens to Manhattan ramp, shown here in white. These shots show some deck installation. And next we'll see a long-range view of the improved Bronx Plaza. As you can see, the widened Queens to Manhattan ramp is operating with all 3 lanes. However, the main component of this project was the widening and redecking of the viaduct. New piers and steel support brackets were installed, and precast deck panels were installed to speed construction. And I'll close with just a few shots taken last week. You can see the pedestrian ramp, the ramp towards Island, and the last section of deck, mainline deck that we're working on. They're about to be replaced, and again, we'll have that done this summer. Now I'd like to update you on some positive progress to resolving some structural issues that we've had, and to close out our project BW82, redecking of the Bronx Whitestone Bridge suspended span. These issues have been tracked by our independent engineer and are discussed in their report to you. Project BW82 is a project that we're quite proud of. It generated a great deal of attention in the bridge engineering world and in the media. It was innovative and pioneering, and it was very successful from a schedule and budget perspective. The project accomplished 2 authority goals at the Bronx Whitestone. First, to replace the deteriorated roadway decks, and second, to reduce the overall mass of the structure, thereby reducing dead load and increasing the usable life of the suspended structure. In the 1940s, the Bronx Whitestone structure was modified to counteract aerodynamic loads, and roadways were added to accommodate added traffic. These changes increased the stress on the global structure. Using modern computer-driven aerodynamic techniques and incorporating modern structural systems, we were able to reduce this added load and lengthen the useful life of this old and graceful structure. The massive stiffening trusses added by Robert Moses after the famous 1940 Tacoma, Washington bridge collapsed were replaced with lightweight fiberglass wind fairings. The heavy reinforced concrete roadway decks were replaced with lightweight steel orthotropic decks. Fabricated deck sections stacked and waiting for installation are pictured on the right. It's I would call it the steel equivalent of corrugated cardboard. It's the addition of the ribs to the steel deck to strengthen it that gives it its strength and its lightweight, Commissioner. No, the road surface is epoxy or a combination of epoxy, wearing surface, and asphalt. We've used both in our
lay down on top.
That's correct.
And this is different from the old one because you used to lay down the asphalt on top of reinforced concrete.
Correct. And that was a component of the added weight on the structure. Okay.
You buzzed through the fact that you got rid of the trusses, which is cute, but you haven't said anything of why you thought that was safe or engineering-wise would work, or...
Well, the reason we removed the trusses, Commissioner, was our analyses of the Bronx Whitestone Bridge gave us some cause for concern since its original structure had been modified and so much weight added. it was the opinion of the bridge experts that the life of the Bronx-Whitestone Bridge could be increased significantly by reducing the weight. And by removing these steel trusses and replacing those with extremely lightweight fiberglass aerodynamic fairings, and by replacing heavy concrete decks with steel orthotropic decks, we reduced the dead weight or the dead load of the bridge by approximately 25%, and we're convinced that's going to have a tremendous benefit in helping us keep the Bronx-Whitestone working as it should.
Those trusses were originally installed to remedy having the bridge flat on the rim?
Yes. Yes.
Yeah. And so you're now excited about the super lightweight fiberglass fairings?
Yes.
That's the fairings or something else, right? I'm showing a picture.
Actually, you can see a fairing off to the right. And what that does is make an aerodynamic shape which allows the wind essentially to pass smoothly over the structure. It's a technique that's used throughout the world right now to keep suspended span bridges working and to keep the dead weight down. Okay. Moving forward, we have some shots now of the fabrication plant, and these photos show the decks in fabrication. Note the UT-OK mark on the steel, meaning these wells have passed non-destructive UT or ultrasound quality control checks. Here, samples of fabricated deck are being torn apart and analyzed. Destructive testing, also as part of our quality assurance process. Robotic weld machines are being checked before the start of every shift. Deck installation was completed in late 2006. Follow-up inspection in early 2007 revealed a minimal amount of weld failures on the decks, shown here. The quantity of weld failures, less than 100 feet, occurred within approximately 300,000 linear feet of weld built into the project. This represents approximately 0.03% of the total weld quantity on the job. This amount of repair or punch list type work on a job of this size would typically not cause alarm or concern. However, we needed to assure ourselves that the problems represented an anomaly and was not indicative of a larger systemic issue. In conjunction with our contractor, Perini OG, our designer and noted experts, we began to monitor and investigate the weld failures. Strain gauges shown here were installed selectively to determine actual levels of stress. Our contractor also cut out samples of good and bad welds for laboratory analysis and test. Elsewhere, repairs were made immediately by the contractor at his sole cost. These tests revealed a localized fabrication problem that was limited in scope and unlikely to escalate or propagate. Theory aside, and perhaps more importantly, the results of regular inspections indicated that, as hoped and predicted, the number and size of the cracks increased only minimally after the initial onset of problems. In short, after nearly 2 years of study, we've concluded that these problems are localized and won't propagate. Nationally renowned experts, Professors John Fisher, and John Barsom, our independent engineer, and our noted design firm, Weidlinger, fully support this conclusion. Going forward, our contractor has proposed to compensate B&T for our costs incurred to date and the cost of future inspections and monitoring. The contractor has also agreed to provide a bond or bonds acceptable to the authority to protect B&T against any possible, though unlikely, repair costs of this type. With these assurances, we plan to close out this project, and that concludes my report today, if anyone has any questions.
How does all this relate to
How does all this relate to the discussion we had a while ago about overweight trucks on these bridges?
We have designed the modern deck for heavier truck loads than originally designed for. The problem that we had, Mr. Chairman, was a fabrication error which, when corrected, will have no negative effect whatsoever on the future of the structure.
Different question. He's asking about the wear of the trucks. Where it's surface.
Does this new driving surface somehow spread the weight better than the former construction did?
No, I wouldn't say it spreads it any better, but I would say it spreads it as well with lesser dead weight and lesser negative impact on the structure. Orthotropic decks, Commissioner, are a technology that have been used in Europe for 20 years quite successfully, and most modern bridges, frankly, are built that way. At least modern suspension bridges.
Was that bridge originally built like the Brooklyn Bridge with an open grating as the driving surface, or has it always been concrete?
It's always been concrete, and in its original configuration, it only had 2 lanes in each direction. The bridge was widened several decades ago to add additional lanes of traffic, and that also added to our concern about the overall dead weight and live load applied to the bridge.
You made references, especially on the RFK, to toll plaza redesigns. Just wondering how the agency is factoring in new high-speed toll collection, or I should say electronic toll collection, into its plans, whether this will reduce the need for toll plaza expansions and or other actions you might be taking.
Well, yes, we are aware of the probability or likelihood of electronic toll collection at some time in the future. We have that being studied right now. We have a study being done to consider the effect of that change on this particular project, and those are in the works. But generally, if we were to go electronic toll collection, the number of toll collecting points would be reduced, and the plaza could theoretically be somewhat smaller.
And is that something we're actually thinking about before we build the new plaza?
Yes, it is.
Good.
Very much so. That's sort of integral to design.
I think he asked the Jeff K question. How many times has Jeff asked that question at Bridges and Tunnels? Like every month, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, we get we've been through that aspect of it, and they're trying to make sure that both of those studies go out together in that regard. Yes.
Okay, anybody else? You satisfied, Mark, about the, not really. Any questions, maybe, because I'm not sure you and Tom were on the same wavelength. I heard your question. I don't think Tom was really asking it. No, don't worry about it. Okay, anybody else? Anything else we have? Tom, thank you very much.
Thank you.
Somebody will have a question for you eventually, and we'll get back to you, I'm sure. Any other business before the committee? Could I have a motion to adjourn? Second. Favor. Lunch. Thank you, everybody. Thank you for being so patient.